Apparently, he just chose Raphael to go first. I could see that text. 10 minutes. Raphael, you're up.
Raphael's.
Okay. Can everybody see me?
Yeah.
I can't see very much of you guys. It's a little pixely, but for those, I don't know if anybody has participated in these events that are set up before, but this is my fourth time presenting to his groups. So it's always a lot of fun. This one's going to be a little bit shorter because we've got 4 different speakers. So Beto asked me to talk a little bit about how I got into engineering and sort of what my life path has been getting to where I am now. So I have a few slides with things I've done over the past few years, but I just wanted to briefly introduce myself. My name is Raphael. I met Beto at an internship at NASA's JPL in 2010, and we've been friends ever since, and we've been helping him out with these things occasionally, and I visited him down in Texas, and we worked on some cool stuff. But basically, he asked me to talk a little bit about how I got here. So I've been in the States for 10 years. I moved from Germany 10 years ago, and then I went to high school in San Diego, and then I came to Berkeley to study electrical engineering. And I would say I've always been interested in engineering. So when I was, 10, 12, 8, 5, I don't even remember. I used to take things apart. I used to, pull apart TVs and cassette tape recorders, and I had boxes of bulbs and all those sorts of things. And I used to tinker with stuff ever since I can remember, basically. So that's sort of how I got started. But in the past couple of years, I've been doing some interesting things. So I'm going to see if I can pull up my presentation here. How does this work? Screen share? Try this. I made a few little slides with stuff I put together over the past couple of years. Are you still seeing me, or are you seeing my screen? I really want to share this. I don't know how this works, honestly. Does not seem to be working. Hello? Is my screen share working? No. Okay. This is interesting. Well, I made a few. I had a little PowerPoint that I wanted to show. So while I poke at that, I guess I'll give a little background about what I have been doing over the past few years. So while I was in Berkeley, I did several internships, the first one of which I met Beto at JPL, and we worked on, here we go, got it. Entire screen, not the entire screen, let's try the entire screen. Share. Alright, you guys seeing screen share? That working?
Yes, it's working.
Awesome. Can you see the first slide?
All black right now.
All black. Should be loading. Nope. I got a slide. Do you?
There you go. It's working.
All right. You got a slide. So basically, my first awesome internship was at NASA's JPL. I was there in the summer of 2010, and we got to do a lot of really cool stuff. So we got to see replicas of the robots that are on Mars. We got to work on robots, and you can see on the left here is Heriberto hiding behind one of the rovers in the lab. So he's always up for a bit of goofing around. So it's a lot of fun working with him. And on the bottom, that's me over there, and we had been working on a project where I had to redesign a piece of control equipment. So it was a lot of fun. We got to see all kinds of crazy robots and work on things that are effectively space-bound, not quite. I mean, we got to work on prototypes of things that were going to go to space, and we actually got to see them work. So I interned at JPL twice. My second time around was in 2011. Did the slide switch?
No. It's taking a while.
Taking a while. All right. Sorry. Four-way video call. Anyway, in 2011, I came back to JPL for a second internship. and we worked on sample return systems for comets. So JPL wanted to send a spaceship to a comet or an asteroid and deploy a drill or a sampling bucket and bring a sample of the stuff back. But nobody knew what an asteroid was like. So we designed tools from scratch. We made CAD models, and we looked at different types of substrates, and we said, here's a tool we designed we think should be able to pick up sand or rock or ice from a comet. So you can see sort of a little bit how we did that. We have the CAD model here, so we basically made a model on a computer, and then we built the thing in real life, and then we set it up in this big bin with the sand at the bottom. I hope the slide switched by now. Did you get it? Hello? I hope the slide switched. I'm just going to assume the slide switched. If it isn't, please stop me, because I will be able to fix that.
Switched. Finally switched.
Finally switched? That took a long time. Sorry. Yeah, so let's see. Sometimes technology does not work the way you want it to. Anyway, I hope everyone in the audience can still hear me and see this. So you can see that we made a model on a computer, we built the real thing, and then we tested it in this big bucket. And it was a very interesting project because we got to do everything ourselves. We got to design the thing, we got to machine the thing, we got to write code in LabVIEW, we got to take data, we got to analyze the samples. So that was a very interesting project. And working at a place like JPL is really awesome because you get to see all these things and touch on all of these little things. So I did that twice. And then I decided that I wanted to try something else. So in the next year, I worked at Tesla. So for those of you who are not familiar with Tesla, you should be, by the way. It is they make electric cars, and they make really, really, really nice electric cars. So you can see on the bottom right that is a Model S, which is their current awesome vehicle. It goes from 0 to 60 in I think 3.2 or 3.4 seconds. It's a 4-seater passenger car. Think about that for a second. So they make really awesome stuff. So when I interned there, I worked on testing things. So we were supposed to build a box, which you can see on the bottom left, that takes sensors from the car and applies inputs to sort of a model of the car, which you can see at the top right. It's sort of a dismantled representation of the car, which you can test everything, you can see how everything works, and you can do research on it. So our task was to build this box of stuff that you would be able to run tests against this sort of dismantled car and evaluate whether the things they wanted it to do were actually happening. So that was a pretty cool project. We did get it to work, so we actually had a real car that we attached this box to and ran tests on. So we were actually able to get some data and hopefully prove that you could do these sorts of tests. And that was a success. And I went back about a year later to visit somebody. They didn't quite go ahead with this method, but they ended up using a very similar sort of thing. They didn't use the box, they used a software controller and did measurements a little bit less physically. But it was a good experience, and it was, Tesla is a crazy place to work. They are on their feet 24/7. We worked 12-hour days as interns, which is a lot, but it was a lot of fun. It was probably the most fun I've ever had in the summer. So if you can, it's a great place to work. And so I had the opportunity to go and work there full-time, but I was going to go back to school for another semester or two, which I did. And by the time I got out of school, I didn't have the connections anymore to easily get the position I had before. So I did interview for a full-time position, but I did not get the job at that time. So I was in school for a little while and doing more research. And in school, I went to Berkeley, as I said earlier. I built a few things, and I got published and gave a talk at the IEEE Sensors Conference in Baltimore. So you can see at the bottom, I built what at the time I think was the smallest wireless radio node that you could build with using discrete components. So a lot of you have probably heard of Arduino. And so basically, the chip that's inside this is effectively an Arduino. You can almost program it the same way. It has a small little battery, and it can take temperature measurements, current measurements, and a few things like that. So we built this device, and I wrote a paper, which I then got to present at a conference, which was really, really cool. On top, you can see another thing that we built. The reason I put this picture in here was to show the power of CAD modeling versus the real world. If you look at the top right, you can see what is a software model of the device that we actually built. So you can see the two red boards and the bottom board. And the one in the middle is the exact same thing, only in real life. And as you can see, it matches very, very closely. So these are all sorts of incredible things you can do with modern technology. And then you can make something in SolidWorks or AutoCAD and then build the exact same thing, and it'll come out exactly the same way. So that was also a very interesting experience. And since then, I finished that research. I was not in grad school. I did the research, published the paper, and moved on, and then I entered industry. So I'm now working at a place called CodeChef, and we do warehouse logistics. So the two-sentence version of what we do today, or what I do today, is think of Amazon. Amazon can do overnight delivery. Well, think of small companies who have 10, 20, 30 people. How do you help a small company with 10, 20, or 30 people become efficient enough and have enough throughput to be able to compete with Amazon? Because otherwise, they're all going to go out of business. And that's kind of the model that we have. That's kind of what we strive to do. So you can see here a few things that I designed and built. These are small little displays that indicate where things are on shelves. And you notice that the top one's made of copper and the bottom one is not. We actually make our own circuits in the office. We have the ability to prototype our own circuits to test them in-house before we send them out and turn them on professional, like you can see in the bottom. So this is a very interesting place to work also, where we can do very, very quick iteration on hardware. So it's a fun place to work, and it's a bit of a new thing. A lot of companies don't operate this way. So that's sort of what I've been doing for the past few years. And I wanted to leave you with one interesting thing that my girlfriend and I built on our own time at home. See if this works. This is sideways. I couldn't rotate it, but this is a 5-foot tall Jacob's ladder. I don't know if you can hear it, but this is sort of the thing you see in movies. This is 15,000 volts zapping across 4 or 5 foot long poles. So I'll play it again. It's sort of an interesting thing that we decided we could do for fun, and we built one. So all sorts of crazy things you can do with the wonderful things you guys are all learning, and I hope that you continue to work in your field and are curious and continue on and do awesome and wonderful things in the world. So if you have any further questions, let Beto or myself know. I'd be happy to speak with you on or off the time. And yeah, I think that is roughly my time slot. So yeah, it's been a fun ride, and I hope to keep working with Beto and keep working in this industry and inspiring awesome folks like you guys. So thank you very much for letting me speak to you guys. How do I unshare this? Hello?
Yeah, you're still sharing your screen.
Okay. Oh, interesting. How about now?
Beautiful faces back on.
Awesome. Thank you. So I hope everybody got the audio and the video. I'm not hearing very much from that end. So
yeah,
show hands, everybody heard me?
Yep.
Awesome.
Audio and video.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So I guess I'll take over from here.
Go for it.
Start sharing my screen. So I just wanted to welcome all my young Padawans. I'm a Jedi Knight from the Old Republic, and Herberto also invited me to come and talk to you guys about STEM education. It's important because not only do you get to do really cool things, you get to make lots of money, have a career that's super stable, and you get to create all the stuff you kind of see in the movies. And so I love the Iron Man movies, and at the end of the presentation, you'll see why. So I'm going to start sharing. So I met Roberto also during my internship at the NASA MUST program. We talked in the back of a bus for about an hour when we were in Phoenix, Arizona. And then we each kind of went our own separate ways. Him and Raphael went to JPL, and I went to Johnson Space Center, where I worked on human factors software. Basically what that is software that lets us make the Orion spacecraft more comfortable for astronauts. So the images on the left side of the screen there are screenshots from the software that I wrote to help the engineers go through a checklist and make sure the astronauts were nice and comfortable. And then after that internship, I signed up for the NASA Co-op. I signed up for the NASA Co-op. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you.
Cool. So yeah, and then I went to the NASA Co-op program at Marshall Space Flight Center, where I worked on robotics. And so myself and a team of 3 other engineers developed what we called a lunar wormbot. Basically what it is 5 segments that expand and contract just like an earthworm does in real life. That's called peristaltic motion. And then we borrowed a ultrasonic drill tip that was developed at JPL, where Raphael was working, and we incorporated that into a custom-made 3D printed titanium auger, and that would allow us to dig 3 meters or 9 feet into the moon, which is a lot deeper than any of the Apollo astronauts ever got. They only got a couple inches to feet during their missions. And so our objective was to take samples as deep as possible for scientists here on Earth. And so if you want to work at NASA, the best way to do that is to go to NASA One. It's a website. It has over 200 jobs that you can look at, sign up for an internship there. And then after you do that, sign up for the NASA Co-op program. And your experience in the NASA internship will really help you get a job there. And then unless you punch your Sith boss in the face, basically you get a job at NASA after you finish your co-op. So that's the best path to get a job at NASA, I think. And so then, did the slide change? Did the slide change, guys?
Change it over here.
Okay, cool. So yeah, and then after, or I guess during my senior year in undergrad in college, I joined the Durbin Google Lunar X Prize team. We were a team of 16 students racing to the moon for a $30 million cash prize. And so basically what the Google Lunar X Prize is, and it's still going on and happening today. There are still, I believe, 18 teams actively trying to land on the moon. There's some on the East Coast, there's some in the middle of the country, and then there's a couple on the West Coast of the United States. So no matter where you are in the U.S., there's definitely teams you could follow or join or help out with. But the competition is basically, with your own money, land a robot on the moon, have it travel 500 meters, and then send back high-definition video and images of things like the Apollo spacecraft. That way we can shut up all the people that think we never landed on the moon, and you get $30 million from Google. Google has more cash on hand than NASA's entire budget, and so by a company like that supporting space exploration, it's a great way for us to kind of reach out to the stars. And when I was at the Durbin Google Lunar X Prize team, I was the technical program manager there. And so I was the system architect that designed a cube airbag landing system and also designed this rocket engine, which was test fired out in California with Team Phoenicia, another Google Lunar X Prize team. So you should be seeing a video of a rocket engine firing. The sound is really cool. You might not be able to hear that, but we had one rocket engine that would burn for 1,600 seconds and then turn off, and it would slow our spaceship down from super fast to 60 miles per hour, and then it would bounce onto the moon. And then after that, I went into, right after undergrad, I decided to start my own company, Solex. It was inspired after SpaceX, another awesome space company that is currently doing cool things. And our product was the GDB, which is basically a space-rated Arduino. So we made it super easy for students or small tech firms to send stuff into space. We took care of all the hard engineering, wrote most of the hard software, and all you had to do was call a few lines of code. Basically, it would let you flash LEDs, let you measure analog voltages, and let you drive 4 large motors with its full H bridges. Again, all super easy to use. You can do all those functions in basically one line of code. And then the R&D side of the company was the RL Mark 6, which stands for Robert Lawrence. He was the first African-American astronaut at NASA, and so we named the project after him. And basically, we want to make it easy for anyone to jump from space. Red Bull did this a few years ago. They took a balloon up to, I believe, 22 miles. He jumped off, and the guy broke the speed of sound with his body. And so that's kind of hard to do. And so we were making suit add-ons that had thrusters on your feet and small actuators that would stop you from spinning out of control, because that was the major problem during that jump. If you noticed, at the very beginning, he was spinning pretty badly, and so our suit would automatically stop that from happening. And it also had augmented reality glasses that you could wear, because also during his jump, his visor started to fog up and freeze over. And so as long as you had augmented reality information on the inside, you could still be okay and survive the jump. And so that kind of ties into what I do now as my current day job. I work at Meta. It's an augmented reality company that lets you grab 3D holograms with your hands. So you put these glasses on, you reach out, and you can pass a rubber ducky between you and your friends, or a slice of pizza, or you can see if a piece of furniture is going to fit in your house. It's all real scale holograms, so a sofa will be 9 feet long, and you can grab it, move it around, see if it fits inside of your house before you buy it from IKEA. And so this is just an example of our workplace. So this is a tank that we have out in front of the headquarters. This is one of our mechanical engineers sitting on it, and this is a thank you video that we put together for our Kickstarter supporters. And here is just a really quick video of what you can do with the glasses. And so if it loads up, I will click play. So you might not be able to hear the audio, but once you put on the glasses, there are 3D holograms in front of you. And in this very first app that the company built, it basically lets you draw any shape that you want in the middle of the air with your fingertips. And so let me just pause for a second as he walks through it. So right here you see, and you can grab objects in front of you, move them around. With the IMU that's there, you can look away and tilt.
I don't think your video is playing.
Stay in the same position. You can see him now moving his head back and forth. And on the right side of the screen is different views. So the bottom view is what's happening inside of software, inside of Unity. The top view is just a picture of the guy wearing the glasses, doing everything. And that middle image on the right is what the guy sees from his point of view. And now on the left side is what happens after we add the augmented reality content. So you can see here he's drawing a vase with his fingertips. And after he's done with that, you can actually reach out, grab it, and put it onto the 3D printer next to him. So he'll reach out, grab it, and bring it over to a real-life 3D printer next to him. And then the printer starts to actually create that object. So create the object in a holographic 3D form, and then it is made in real life. And then for fun, just like Raphael, I like to do stuff on the side. My screen share stopped.
I don't think the video played, by the way.
The end real quick. Sorry. So for fun, me and 6 of my friends are working on an Iron Man suit. And so what you see here is 3D printed Iron Man mask in the upper left. My friend also made an arc reactor that he 3D printed and put blue LEDs around the outside and a camera down the center. And then on the bottom right, that's a mix of Kevlar and carbon fiber that was put together to make an Iron Man boot. We didn't want to get sued, so we didn't make it red and gold, and we went with red and black. And then for the actual thrusters themselves, you're not able to fly like Iron Man does in the movies, but these will let you glide and glide fancy, kind of like Buzz Lightyear. And so what you have is a 3D printed rocket engine that uses nitrous oxide, which is laughing gas from a dentist's office, and paraffin wax from candles that you might have laying around your house. And when you mix those two together and shoot them out of a rocket nozzle, it allows you to create thrust. And so we actually also printed those in real life. So these are 7 3D printed models of that same Aerospike rocket engine that you saw before. And that's basically it. And as an example of what the glasses look like in real life, I also brought them with me today with a little Iron Man guy. That does not normally come with the glasses. That has to be purchased separately. But they're a lot of fun. And like I said, you reach out, grab stuff with your hands, and place it in the world around you so you kind of feel like Iron Man yourself. And yeah, that's all I basically had. I just wanted to try and give you guys information about how to get into the STEM field, how to find a job, and why you might want to do that. It's not only fun, but it's a great way to make money, support your family, and all that kind of good stuff. So thanks for listening, and hope you guys join the field. I think that's it, guys. Is there anything else you needed, Javier or Roberto? Are we going to do a QA or anything like that?
Is his sound still gone? The sound is still gone. Did not hear what Javier's end said. Did you? Check of sound problems.
Is this question time for the parents and the students? Or all right. My bad. I'm hogging the screen. Does anybody have any questions for the engineers?
I think they can also probably type them into the Q&A button on the left side of the screen, and maybe anybody online that's also watching can type in questions there.
Hi. I think I have a question over here.
Don't be shy,
Okay. Somebody.
We don't make that much money at Meta. It's a startup. They do pay for housing, food, cars, but I don't ever take or do any engineering job for the money. I do it because I love engineering, and every free second that I have, I'm engineering something. So, but at Meta, I think we make approximately somewhere between $60,000 and $80,000. If you do want to make more money as an engineer, you should probably join a larger company like a Lockheed Martin or a GE, companies like that, and they can make upwards of $120,000 to $150,000 a year.
All right, Blaze, we have a question over here. Introduce yourself.
How much are the glasses?
Good question.
Can you hear me?
He's asking you if you heard him.
You guys can
Something
hear?
happened. Yeah, we can hear you now, but
Okay, cool. I don't think I can hear Raphael. He might be on mute.
I can hear you, Blaze.
Yeah, you're muted, Raphael.
I can hear both of you.
Okay. I cannot hear Javier's end very well.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yeah, but I didn't hear any of the questions really.
I was too far away. Okay, so the question is...
Yeah, I've always wanted to be an engineer. I have it on home video, VHS, for all the young people out there that might not know what that is. It's a piece of tape that we used to record images on. But yeah, when I was 5, my mom asked me what I wanted to be, and before she finished the question, I yelled out astronaut. My little sister said mommy, and my little brother said Spider-Man. Yeah, I'd always wanted to be an engineer. I watched all the NASA shuttle launches. I wanted to be a chemical engineer to start. I went to community college and took a lot of chemical engineering classes. Community college is a great place to figure out what you want to do without wasting a lot of money. And so I actually switched to electrical engineering and robotics while I was still in community college and before I transferred to Johns Hopkins. So from there on out, there was no kind of stopping me from being an engineer.
No. Can you hear me?
The glasses we sold on Kickstarter for $667. So half the price of Google Glass, which people might have heard of. But our glasses have a much larger field of view. They actually let you interact with the real world and grab stuff, not just notify you that you have an email. So you actually feel like you're Iron Man. And these are our developer kit. So this is the version we already released, and we have a new version that's coming out that looks even sexier, is about the same price, has an even larger field of view, has a lot more sensors, and it's going to kick butt when it comes out.
Okay.
You want to take some of these?
You have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
If not, next project is definitely the Iron Man suit. Like I said, me and my 6 friends are going to make a suit that's going to be bulletproof against pistol fire, probably not rifle fire. It's going to have an ultrasonic gun on the back of it, and it's going to have a more powerful 3D printed rocket engine on the boot, so we can take it out during skydiving and test it out and see how well it flies. The Meta 1 glasses are already out, and you can actually sign up to use them. If you go to getameta.com, you can sign up to be a pioneer and actually use a pair of the glasses. And then our next is coming out relatively soon.
Well, what is your
I'm not
question?
allowed to quite release the release date yet because we don't want to overpromise, but they're going to be awesome and they're going to be out pretty soon. I was tackled one time during high school. I never ran into that problem too much. I was a pretty nice guy. Kind of stayed to myself, played chess a lot. But if you do run into bullies, the best way to protect yourself is to know maybe a little bit of self-defense. I was a wrestler in high school, and then be able to go to your principal if there's any problems. The website is www.getameta, GETAMETA.com. And so I guess Meta's glasses, the field of view of Google glasses, I believe 15 degrees, and our field of view was 32 degrees, so twice as big. Google Glass also only lets you see information in like the upper right-hand corner, and Meta glasses put augmented reality content in front of you everywhere. We also have input with our hands, so we have gesture recognition that lets you grab stuff, unlike Google Glass. And what else? Just more powerful. We have other sensors, more cameras, things like that. So our glasses weigh 450 grams, so they are heavier than Google Glass, but we're making them as comfortable as possible by adding straps and different UI things. And the images, virtual. So the glasses create augmented reality. They use little micro displays, basically 1-inch tiny little screens that shine video feed out from them, and then we use optics, little pieces of glass to bounce the light back and forth, and then there's a kind of a piece of glass right in front of your eyes that does the final reflection into your eyes, so it kind of works like a what is that called? A two-way mirror. So you can let some light come through, but some light also bounces off, and so the light from the displays bounces off. Raphael, you wanna?
Ask them.
No audio?
Ask them.
The thing that inspired me to be an engineer was watching NASA space shuttle launches. That and just the fact that I knew I could build whatever I wanted if I became an engineer, and so, like Ralph said, I like to take stuff apart when I was little. Sometimes it would go back together, but most of the times it wouldn't. How do NASA internships affect your life? So they were during the summers, most of the internships at NASA, so it was a great way to get away from home. If you want a chance to get away from your mom or dad for 3 months, kind of like summer camp, but also do something really cool, I would do like a NASA internship, maybe like on the other side of the country, like in California. Go to JPL, where Raphael and Roberto went. It's a really awesome place if you like robotics.
Let's see. What inspired me to be an engineer? Basically, I always like to take stuff apart. I always get stuff and figure out try to figure out how it worked. But you know, when I was little, things I put back together mostly didn't work after that because you know, being small, I wouldn't really figure out how exactly they worked. But it was always fun to see what was inside, and sort of that taught me sort of how things work and what to expect about things being inside. I also always like tinkering with stuff, be it electronics or tree logs or rocks or whatever. I used to play outside a lot, and I used to just like working with my hands, effectively creating things. So that's, I guess, kind of how I got started. And to quickly answer the second question from Javier. Working at NASA is a great way to get connections, and it also is very good as experience. So people will look at your experience and say, "Oh, you worked at NASA. Oh, you worked at JPL," and you'll basically have a leg up on whatever you're trying to do because those are fairly respected places to work, and it's also a lot of fun. So having worked at NASA and the other places do help a lot with future internships and job applications and things like that. So that's a good place to start. Take that one? Yes.
Yeah, and I grew up. Go ahead. Yeah, and I grew up in a pretty poor family myself. We lived in the country. I had 6 brothers and sisters. So you shouldn't let that hold you back from applying to really expensive schools. because really expensive schools have lots of money to give you. So I applied to Johns Hopkins, and because of all the rich people there, if your family doesn't make much money, then they give you full scholarships if you can't afford it. So don't be afraid to apply to the really expensive schools. And I loved playing with Legos, mostly Iron Man Legos.
Nice. To answer that question shortly, I was fortunate enough to not be economically disadvantaged. I grew up in Germany, and then I came to San Diego. So my family was lucky enough to not have that as an obstacle. But even so, as Blaze said, you shouldn't let that stop you from doing anything you want. And I also played with Legos, preferably Mindstorm's Robotics.
Any other questions?
Have fun.
Have fun. Alright. Everyone say goodbye. There you go. Bye.
Have fun.